Hey there, thanks so much for joining me today. This is Laura Lynn with Keep Inking Up. Today I want to show you a technique using my Stamparatus and a multi-color stamp image. I'm using the Birthday Wit stamp set from the Occasions catalog and my Stamparatus. I'm going to place my sentiment stamp on the paper where I want it to stamp, pick it up with the plate of the Stamparatus, and I'm going to use a wide variety of colors today. I'm going to use Basic Gray, Bermuda Bay, Lemon Lime Twist, Calypso Coral, and Daffodil Delight. And I'm going to use all of those colors on one sentiment image. I'm going to begin with the Basic Gray color, and I'm using my regular Scotch tape from my desk to mask off the part of the image below where I want the ink to be. And I'm going to use the sponge dauber on my Basic Gray, from my Basic Gray ink, and ink up the image using my sponge dauber. I think you can do the same technique with markers. I just get a much more solid color using sponge dauber and ink pads. Then I'll swing over the plate onto my paper and stamp the image down. I'm going to press it really well. And there I've got the beginnings of my sentiment image. I'm going to put the Basic Gray ink pad away before I make a mess, and I'll get the next color, which is Bermuda Bay. And I'll again use Scotch tape to mask off the next section of the image that I want to stamp. And again, I'll get the sponge dauber for the Bermuda Bay and ink that up really well. And I'll continue this process all the way down the entire length of this sentiment image using the different colors. You can use anything to mask off the areas of your image. I happen to be using Scotch tape because it's inexpensive and readily available. You could also use Post-it note or even washi tape. I find that I don't have as much luck using washi tape as I do with Scotch tape. So it is just my preference, but you use whatever masking material that you find works best for you. You can reuse these pieces of tape a couple of times. They do get a little inky, and you got to be careful about getting your fingers in the ink so you don't get fingerprints where you don't want them. The next color I'm using is Calypso Coral. Set that out and I'll get the matching dauber. I do have a dauber for every color that I have. You don't necessarily have to do that, but I use them often enough that I like to have one for each color. You could, if you wanted to, just have one for all of your blues, your yellows, your greens, that kind of a thing if you didn't want to have one for every color. But like I said, I use them quite a bit, so I like having one for each. I'm going to press that down, and you can kind of see how this is already going. Right now I have 3 colors there on one particular stamped image. This is one of the really nice benefits about the Stamparatus. So now I'm using the Lemon Lime Twist, which is one of the current 2017 to 2019 in colors. A really nice, fun, bright color, perfect for birthdays. So once again, I am masking off the area that I want to ink up, and I'll get the ink and add that on with my dauber. Peel off the Scotch tape. That is a very important process to do because if you don't, you'll get too much ink everywhere. So ask me how I know. Make sure you peel off that Scotch tape or whatever you're using to mask off your stamp image. So I believe next is the Daffodil Delight, which is a light color, so I think I add quite a bit of ink this time. But before I do that, I need to go ahead and mask off the section of my image that I want. I have my pieces of tape off to the side there that I keep grabbing and reusing. And it looks like my Daffodil Delight could use a bit of re-inking, quite a bit of a dry space there in the middle. I need to go re-ink my ink pad. So I'm adding a lot of ink because Daffodil Delight is a very light color, and so I want to make sure I get quite a bit of ink on there to get a nice bright stamped image. Peel off that tape. Very, very important, like I said. Extremely important to peel that off. And press that down. Give it a nice good press. That looks pretty good. That's nice and bright. I think I'm fairly happy with that. Ready to go on to the next color. I'm going to start over with my colors, and I think I'll go back to the Bermuda Bay next. I'm saving the basic gray for the end of the sentiment image. So now I'm going to go back to the Bermuda Bay, but again, of course, I need to mask off the section that I need, exposing just the part that I want the ink on it. Press that tape down really well to make sure I don't get ink underneath it, and use my sponge dauber to ink that part up. Okay, it looks like I'm adding enough ink, but I think that I end up restamping this because I don't think I got it dark enough. So I'm going to press that down. We'll see how nicely that stamps. And I'm not quite pleased with that, so I'm going to add more ink. So I'm going to re-mask off the same area once again. And that is one of the beauties of this Stamparatus, is you know that you will get the image stamped in exactly the same spot again. So I can just re-ink that, and I am confident that it will stamp directly on top of where it was prior. There will not be any ghosting or any kind of shifting, especially since I have that magnet there. You can see that magnet holding my paper down, so it has not shifted even the slightest bit. So I can ink that same part up again and stamp that back right on top of it. And this time it'll come out much brighter. You can see how much darker that is, and I'm much more pleased with that particular part of the stamp. So now I can go on to the next section. And I believe the next section is once again Calypso Coral. I need to, of course, mask off my other parts of the image. Close up that ink pad so I don't get my fingers where they don't need to be. And get the next color open, the Calypso Coral. Using a sponge dauber, I'll ink that next section up once again. Take that off. Looks like it's hard to pick that up. And I'll stamp that down. So I hope you all like this voiceover. I have not yet learned how to edit video, so I don't know how to speed things up or cut things out or anything like that. I'm still learning, but hopefully I'll learn that in the near future. But for now, I'm just trying this voiceover. We'll see how that goes. Please comment below if you think that I'm doing a reasonable job with this. And I will just keep learning and keep trying and keep practicing and hopefully share more videos with you. So here again is the Lemon Lime Twist. This is really one of my favorite colors. It didn't appeal to me when it first came out that much. I thought I'm not really sure why I didn't like it very much, but now I think it's a fabulous color and I use it quite frequently. It just is bright and happy. It's just a happy color. So I'm going to press that down. I can press over the whole image. I don't need to worry about anything because everything's exactly in the same spot with the colors that I stamped with it before. I haven't cleaned off the stamp, so all the same colors are where they were. So I'll end this stamped image with the basic gray color. You can see all those pieces of tape I've been using for this process. I'll tape off just the part above the last section of this sentiment. Now the basic gray ink pad is an archival ink, so it has a felt cover, so it is a little harder to pick up the ink with the sponge dauber, so that's why you see me twisting it quite a bit. But I'm adding the ink on there just fine, and I will stamp that last part down, and my image will be finished and ready to apply to my birthday card. So thank you so much for joining me, and I hope that you learned something new and like my multicolored stamped image process. So here's the card once again. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.